Pickleball is a very momentum-based game. Here are my top tips for breaking your opponent's serve and getting the ball back in singles. This first one's really only for tournaments and leagues. Most events give you 2 timeouts per game. The rule for timeouts is don't take any home with you. When your opponent's on a run, use a timeout. If your opponent has a game point, use a timeout. If you have a long point that leaves you out of breath and runs your heart rate up, use a timeout. The 2 purposes of timeouts are to help you catch your breath and to stop your opponent's momentum. You should never be giving them the chance to get into a rhythm. In singles, the return determines which player will control the point. There's a lot more options in singles because there's only one player on the other side of the net, and moving them around hurts a lot more, as opposed to doubles where there's another Kevin camped out on the other half of the court. Returning to the server's backhand can be a really effective strategy to get a really weak third shot, but a lot of stronger opponents will have a solid backhand, so you may need to use a different strategy against those kinds of players. Jamming your serve deep to your opponent's feet can be really effective, especially when your opponent has a big serve and they may still be recovering from the motion. A lot of times, because they've just finished the serve, you can catch them on the back foot and get a really weak shot. The third option is to return down the line. Now this is a little bit lower percentage and it creates a lot of movement for your opponent, but it also gives them a little bit better angles. If you do this every time, a strong opponent will figure it out and kind of learn to work around it, but mixing it in here and there keeps your opponent on their feet and gets them running and keeps their heart rate high. This one can be a little bit high risk, high reward, but when you get a really strong serve with a lot of pace to redirect, it can be near unreturnable. The only potential downside to returning down the line is you open up a lot of angles for your opponent if they're able to get to the ball. You can see here my opponent's a lefty, so he was just ripping winners down the line. You need to pay attention to what kind of player your opponent is. You don't want to let them to be able to play their game. Some players like to play cat and mouse. They're going to try to get you to the kitchen and they're going to try to dink you off the court. For those players, you really need to be taking the ball out of the air and getting on the ball early to keep them pushed off the kitchen line. If you let them extend the point, they will destroy your legs. But on the other hand, if your opponent's just blowing you off the court, slowing the game down could be good. A lot of these hard hitters come from tennis backgrounds and they really don't like the slow stuff. Keeping the ball really low will remove their ability to hit hard and kind of bring them out of their comfort zone. Whatever strategy your opponent's using, keep an eye out for what kind of winners they're hitting and how you get into that situation. Like in this situation, every time I went down the line, this guy just ripped some crazy lefty win. You want to avoid setting up that scenario so you don't give them that opportunity. Don't give them what they're looking for. Using these strategies, you can carry out the #1 tip for getting the ball back in pickleball. Disrupt the momentum. Do not let your opponent get in a rhythm. Do not let them build momentum and make them feel scared of you. Every player's got a different weapon. Why would you let them use it on you? Your opponent's serve is not something for you to fear. It's a chance for you to take control of the game. So keep these things in mind next time you're playing singles. Get out there and battle.